Chapter 17. The moon hung high in the star-studded sky, its silvery glow spilling over the hills like a soft, ethereal blanket. The night was tranquil, yet Chloe stood beneath the ancient oak tree, her heart pounding like a drum in the silence. The cool night air danced around her, carrying with it the scent of blooming flowers and fresh earth, but it wasn't the chill that sent shivers down her spine, it was the weight of anticipation pressing down on her chest. She smoothed down her dress, feeling the soft, silken fabric flow around her like a gentle stream. The dress was a beautiful, flowing design that captured an ethereal, floral-inspired aesthetic. It was a light, silken white adorned with intricate blue floral patterns that twirled gracefully along the lower hem and parts of the sleeves. The flowers were detailed with varying shades of blue, from soft pastels to deeper tones, evoking the delicate artistry of nature. The long sleeves bore subtle blue accents around the cuffs, tied neatly with thin, ribbon-like decorations, and every flutter of the fabric caught the moonlight, creating an almost magical effect. Chloe's hair fell around her shoulders in soft waves, with loose strands framing her face, making her look both graceful and determined. She had never felt more nervous in her life. The excitement mingled with fear that he wouldn't feel the same way she did. Would Rimuru see her as the strong woman she had become, or would he still view her as the child he had once taught? The thought made her heart ache. Her gaze wandered to the distant city lights below, twinkling like stars. They seemed so far away, like another world. She had imagined this moment so many times before, Rimuru standing before her, the two of them alone under the night sky, but now that it was real, the weight of what she was about to do bore down on her like a storm. She took a deep breath, steadying herself, but the fear remained, lurking in the pit of her stomach. What if he doesn't feel the same? What if he still sees me as just his student, just a girl who followed him through countless battles? The doubt gnawed at her, making her question everything. And then, she heard the soft crunch of footsteps approaching. Her breath caught in her throat as she turned, her heart thundering in her chest. Rimuru stepped into the clearing, the moonlight catching his platinum sliver violet hair, making it almost glow. He paused when he saw her, his eyes widening slightly, as if he hadn't expected her to look like this. For a moment, he just stared, and Chloe's heart skipped a beat. He was captivated. Rimuru had seen Chloe in countless situations, battle-hardened, bloodied, determined. But this was different. The way the moonlight kissed her delicate features, the way her dress fluttered softly in the breeze, as if woven from the night itself, it took his breath away. She looked fragile, yet strong. Beautiful, yet fierce. His gaze lingered on the pendant hanging around her neck. The small dragon pendant she wore, purchased by him as a token of their bond, glinted faintly against her collarbone. In that moment, it wasn't just her appearance that captivated him, it was her presence, the quiet strength, the warmth that enveloped him every time they were together. It was the weight in her eyes, the vulnerability, the unspoken words that left him speechless. "Chloe, you look." His voice was soft, almost a whisper, filled with genuine wonder. "Incredible." The words hung in the air, charged with unspoken feelings, but confusion flickered in his eyes as he added, "Why did you ask me to meet here? Is something wrong?" Chloe felt her heart pound even harder, her palms trembling as she clasped them together, gathering the courage she desperately needed. "No, nothing's wrong," she managed to say, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside. I need to tell you something. Something I've wanted to say for a long time." Chloe forced herself to smile, though the effort made her heart ache. She wanted to speak, to tell him everything that had been festering inside her for so long, but now that he was here, standing in front of her, the words felt heavy, lodged in her throat. Her fingers twitched as she clasped them together, trying to hold on to the courage that had brought her here. Rimuru took a step closer, the gentle concern in his eyes deepening. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" His tone was light, but the softness in it only made Chloe's heart squeeze tighter. "Can I really?" she thought bitterly. She wanted to believe he'd understand her feelings, that he'd accept them, but the fear was still there, gnawing at her insides. What if he dismissed her again, like before? What if he didn't take her seriously, or worse, what if he rejected her? The thought of it made her throat tighten painfully. She had faced countless dangers, fought in battles where her life was on the line, but nothing compared to the fear she felt now, standing before him with her heart in her hands. Taking a shaky breath, Chloe pressed on, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know I've said this before, and you didn't take me seriously then. But I can't keep it inside anymore." Rimuru's brows furrowed slightly, a flicker of confusion crossing his features, but he stayed silent, sensing that whatever she was about to say was important. Chloe felt her chest tighten, the emotions she had buried for so long clawing their way to the surface. Her hands trembled as she looked down, unable to meet his gaze. I've loved you for so long, Rimuru. Longer than I can even remember. The words hung in the air between them, heavy and raw. For a moment, everything seemed to stop. Rimuru stared at her, his mind struggling to process what she had just said. Love, the word echoed in his mind, a strange weight to it. Chloe had confessed before, many times in fact, but this was different. There was a depth to her voice, a desperation that made his heart pound in his chest. I've always loved you, Chloe continued, her voice trembling as the dam finally broke. Her emotions poured out of her, raw and unfiltered. From the moment we met, I knew. And every time I've tried to tell you, I was scared. Scared that you'd brush it off again, that you wouldn't see me the way I see you. I thought maybe you'd always see me as just your student. Her voice cracked at the last word, and Rimuru's heart clenched. Chloe's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she finally looked up at him, her emotions laid bare. But I'm not just that anymore. I've grown, Rimuru. I've changed. And I still love you. I've loved you through everything we've been through all the battles, the laughter, the quiet moments. I've held on to this feeling for so long, and it's tearing me apart. Without her realizing, a teardrop spilled down her cheeks, glistening in the moonlight as her vulnerability filled the space between them. I know it's selfish of me to put this on you. But I can't keep pretending that everything's fine, that I don't care as much as I do. You're everything to me, Rimuru. You always have been. Her words were a confession, a plea, a cry for understanding. Rimuru felt like the ground had been pulled from under him. His mind raced, replaying their memories, the moments they had shared, the laughter, the battles, the times she had looked at him with eyes full of trust and something more. He had always felt something for Chloe, a connection deeper than friendship. But love, could it have been love all this time, and he just hadn't realized it? As Chloe stood before him, seeing tears in her eyes, Rimuru felt a knot form in his chest. She was scared that he didn't feel the same, scared that she would lose him again, scared that how this confession would be the end. But even in her fear, she had been brave enough to tell him the truth. Brave enough to lay her heart bare, knowing he could break it. And in that moment, Rimuru realized something. Rimuru's heart raced in his chest as the weight of Chloe's words settled over him. The world seemed to shrink down to just the two of them, standing alone under the ancient oak, bathed in moonlight. Chloe's confession echoed in his mind, each word sinking deeper, filling him with emotions he hadn't fully acknowledged until this moment. For so long, he had been caught in the boundaries of their relationship, teacher and student, mentor and friend. He had always cared for her, deeply, but had pushed away any thoughts beyond that, dismissing them as improper or impossible. Yet, as he stood here now, looking into her tear-streaked eyes, he couldn't deny the truth that had always been there, lurking beneath the surface. Chloe's trembling voice broke through the silence. I understand if you don't feel the same way. She hesitated, her fingers nervously twisting together. I know I've always been that kid you taught, the student who followed you around like a shadow. I know it's probably impossible for you to see me any other way, but... Her voice faltered, cracking under the weight of her fear. But I had to tell you. I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with things the way they were. Rimuru's breath caught in his throat. Chloe had never sounded so vulnerable, so raw. Her usual strength and resolve had crumbled, leaving her exposed, afraid. She had faced battles without fear, fought alongside him with unwavering determination, but here standing before him, confessing her heart, she was terrified. Terrified of being rejected, of being left alone. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. Chloe, this brave, incredible woman, was scared of him not returning her feelings. She had been carrying this weight, this fear, all by herself. Rimuru took a step forward, his gaze softening as he reached out to her. Chloe. His voice was barely more than a whisper, but it held all the warmth and care he had for her. You're not just my student. You haven't been for a long time. Her eyes widened in surprise, her breath hitching in her throat. What do you mean? I mean, he paused, gathering his thoughts, trying to put into words the emotions swirling inside him. I mean, you've always been more to me than that. I just didn't realize it until now. Chloe's heart skipped a beat. She stared at him, hope flickering in her chest, but doubt quickly followed. Was he saying this just to comfort her? Was he just trying to be kind, to spare her feelings? Rimuru took another step closer, closing the distance between them. His hand reached up, gently brushing a strand of her hair behind her ear. I've been thinking about you for a while now. I guess I didn't want to admit it because I thought it wasn't fair to you. That maybe I was just holding on to that old image of you as my student. But, you're not that kid anymore, Chloe. You've grown. You've become this amazing, strong woman. And somewhere along the way, I fell for you too. Chloe's breath caught in her throat. Her eyes filled with fresh tears, but this time, they were tears of disbelief, of relief. You mean that? Rimuru smiled softly, his hand cupping her cheek, wiping away the stray tear that had fallen. I mean it, Chloe. I just didn't see it at first. I kept telling myself it wasn't right, that I had to stay distant. But the truth is, every time I'm with you, I feel it. That connection, that pull. I can't deny it anymore. A sob escaped her lips, her heart swelling with emotion. All the fears, all the doubts she had carried for so long melted away in that moment. He felt the same. He really did. Her knees buckled slightly, the overwhelming rush of emotions almost too much to bear. Rimuru, noticing her falter, quickly wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. Chloe buried her face in his chest, her body trembling with the force of her emotions. His arms were strong, steady, holding her in place, anchoring her as she cried softly against him. I'm sorry for making you wait, he murmured, his voice gentle, soothing. I should have told you sooner. Chloe shook her head, her hands clutching his shirt tightly. No, it's okay, I didn't want to force you. I was so scared you wouldn't feel the same way. I know, Rimuru whispered, his hand gently stroking her back. I'm sorry for making you go through that. But I'm here now, Chloe. And I'm not going anywhere. They stood like that for what felt like an eternity, wrapped in each other's arms, the night around them quiet and peaceful. The cool breeze swept over the hills, but neither of them felt the chill. They were warm, safe, and finally, after so long, together. After a while, Chloe pulled back slightly, looking up at him through tear-filled eyes. You really mean it? You love me? Rimuru's heart swelled with affection as he looked down at her, his thumb gently brushing away the last of her tears. Yes, Chloe, I love you. I think I always have. I was just too dense to realize it. A soft, emotional laugh escaped her lips, and she wiped at her eyes, smiling up at him with a mix of joy and disbelief. You really are an idiot sometimes. Rimuru chuckled, the sound light and carefree. Yeah, I guess I am. Chloe's smile widened, her heart feeling lighter than it had in years. And then, before she could overthink it, she reached up, pulling him down toward her. Their lips met in a soft, tentative kiss, both of them nervous, unsure. But as the kiss deepened, all of that melted away, leaving only the warmth, the love that had been building between them for so long. Rimuru's arms tightened around her, pulling her closer as their kiss became more intense, more passionate. Chloe's hands tangled in his hair, her heart pounding as she poured all of her emotions into that kiss, the love, the relief, the joy. Everything she had been holding back for so long, she gave to him in that moment. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, their foreheads rested against each other, both of them smiling, their hearts still racing. I love you, Rimuru, Chloe whispered, her voice soft but filled with so much emotion it made his heart ache. I love you too, he whispered back, his smile tender as he leaned in to kiss her again, this time softer, slower, savoring the moment. And under the moonlit sky, they stood together, wrapped in each other's arms, their hearts finally in sync. The weight of unspoken feelings lifted, replaced by the warmth of a love that had been waiting to be acknowledged. The night stretched on, but for them, time seemed to stand still. Nothing else mattered except for this moment, this love. After everything they had been through, all the battles, all the fears, they had finally found each other. And neither of them was letting go. Rimuru's paw. The moon hung high in the night sky, casting everything in a soft, silver light. I walked slowly toward the hills, trying to calm my thoughts, but my mind was a mess. Chloe had asked me to meet her here, just the two of us. I had no idea why, but something about it made my chest tighten in a way I hadn't felt before. When I got close enough, I saw her standing there, under the oak tree. She looked different. Her white dress flowed gently in the breeze, the blue floral patterns catching the light just right. I stopped in my tracks, my heart doing this weird thing where it skipped a beat. Why did she suddenly look so beautiful? I shook the thought away. Come on, Rimuru, this is Chloe. You've known her forever. But something was off tonight. There was a kind of tension in the air that I couldn't quite place, and it made me uneasy. Chloe, I called out, trying to sound casual. You look incredible. I wasn't even sure why I said it, but it felt right. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That's when I knew something was bothering her. Chloe usually had this confident, playful energy, but now, she looked almost nervous. I frowned, stepping closer. What's going on? Why did you want to meet here? Is something wrong? No, she said, her voice quiet, but there was this tremor in it. Nothing's wrong. I need to tell you something. She paused, and I could see her hands trembling slightly as she clasped them together. Something I've wanted to say for a long time. My heart skipped again. This wasn't like her. Chloe never hesitated, never looked this vulnerable. I felt my stomach twist with worry. What could she possibly want to say that had her this shaken? She took a deep breath, and for a moment, I could see the battle she was fighting inside. Then, she really looked at me, and her next words hit me like a punch to the gut. I've loved you for so long, Rimuru. Longer than I can even remember. I stood there, frozen, not sure if I had heard her right. Love, Chloe, loved me, sure, she'd confessed before, but I never took it seriously. I always thought it was just a kind of crush, you know. A leftover feeling from when I was her teacher. But now, the way she said it, it was different. There was something deeper there. Something I had been blind to. I've always loved you, she continued, her voice trembling with emotion. From the moment we met, I knew. And every time I tried to tell you, I was scared. Scared that you'd brush it off again, that you wouldn't see me the way I see you. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak. Her words hit me so hard that my mind was spinning, trying to process it all. I had cared about Chloe for a long time. But love, was that what this was? I had always told myself that what I felt for her was just a strong bond. She was my student once, and even though she wasn't anymore, it didn't seem right to think of her in any other way. But now, standing here, hearing her bare her heart like that, I wasn't so sure. Chloe looked down, her voice barely above a whisper now. I'm not just that anymore. I've grown, Rimuru. I've changed. And I still love you. I've held on to this feeling for so long, and it's tearing me apart. Something inside me twisted at her words. She had been holding on to this all this time, and I hadn't even realized. I had been so caught up in my own thoughts, my own confusion about what we were, that I hadn't seen how deeply this was affecting her. I took a step forward, not really thinking, and gently brushed a strand of hair from her face. She flinched, looking up at me with wide eyes, and in that moment, something inside me shifted. Chloe, I said softly, my voice steadier than I felt. You're not just my student. You haven't been for a long time. Her eyes widened, and I could see the hope flicker there, mixed with disbelief. What do you mean? I paused, trying to gather my thoughts, my heart pounding like crazy. You've always been more to me than that. I just didn't realize it until now. I had to be honest with myself. I had been avoiding these feelings for so long, convincing myself that it wasn't right, that it wasn't fair to her. But now, standing here, looking at her, I couldn't deny it anymore. I've been thinking about us for a while, I admitted, my voice quieter now. I didn't want to admit it because I thought it wasn't fair to you. I thought I was just holding on to that old image of you as my student. But you're not that kid anymore, Chloe. You've grown into this incredible, strong woman. And somewhere along the way, I fell for you too. Chloe's breath hitched, her eyes filling with tears, but this time, they weren't tears of pain. They were tears of relief, maybe even joy. And I felt this weird warmth spread through my chest, seeing her like that. Before I could think twice, I stepped even closer, my hand cupping her cheek. I mean it, Chloe. I didn't see it before, but I can't ignore it anymore. Her knees buckled a little, and I instinctively wrapped my arms around her, pulling her close. She buried her face in my chest, her body trembling, and I held her tighter, feeling the connection between us, something that had been there all along, but that I had been too blind to see. I love you too, Chloe, I whispered, the words coming out naturally. I always have, I just didn't know it. And standing there, with the moonlight shining down on us, everything finally made sense. For the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. Chloe's warmth against me, the soft rhythm of her breathing calming my nerves, it was surreal. How had I been so blind? This girl, no, this woman had always been by my side, fighting for me, protecting me, and yet I had kept her at a distance, afraid of what acknowledging these feelings would mean. She pulled back slightly, her tear-streaked face glowing in the moonlight. There was a softness in her gaze now, a kind of relief that made my heart swell. Chloe's lips parted, and I could feel her trembling, though this time it wasn't from fear or uncertainty. Rimuru, do you really mean it? She whispered, her voice shaky. I smiled at her, brushing my thumb gently along her cheek. I wouldn't say it if I didn't. My voice was soft, but the sincerity in my words seemed to melt away the last of her doubts. She blinked, a fresh wave of tears spilling over, but this time she was smiling, really smiling. Her hands came up to rest on my chest, tentative at first, but when I didn't pull away, she gripped my jacket tightly, almost as if to make sure this moment was real. For a while, neither of us said anything. We didn't need to. The night, the moon, and the quiet shared between us was enough. I let my forehead rest against hers, closing my eyes for a second, just savoring the closeness, the simplicity of being with her. I'm sorry I made you wait so long, I muttered, breaking the silence. The weight of those years we'd spent dancing around each other pressed down on me. How long had she been carrying these feelings? And how long had I been ignoring them, out of fear or confusion? Chloe shook her head gently, pulling back enough to look at me. Her expression was soft, almost teasing. You're such an idiot sometimes, Rimuru. Her tone wasn't harsh, though just fond, like she was relieved the hardest part was over. But, I'm glad you finally understand. I laughed under my breath, feeling the tension drain from my body. Yeah, I guess I am an idiot. But I won't be anymore. I promise. She smiled wider at that, her eyes twinkling like stars. There was something so pure, so genuine in her gaze that it made my chest ache, but in the best way possible. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't second-guessing myself. I wasn't wondering what this all meant or where we would go from here. It didn't matter. All that mattered was Chloe, standing here with me under the moonlight, her heart laid bare, and mine beating just as fiercely in return. She shifted slightly, and before I knew it, her arms slid around my neck, and she leaned in, pressing her lips to mine. It was sudden, without warning. My mind froze for a second. Wait, what? She kissed me. It was soft, warm, and everything I didn't expect, and yet my heart was racing. I hadn't seen it coming at all, and for a brief moment, I didn't know how to react. The shock shot through me, and I stood still, eyes wide, trying to process. But then it hit me. I relaxed into the kiss, my surprise fading as I kissed her back, more gently this time. And suddenly, the world seemed to quiet. Everything, the moon, the night, our past, it all disappeared. It was just Chloe and me, wrapped in this one perfect, unexpected moment. The warmth of her lips, the softness of her touch, it was like something had clicked into place, something that had been waiting for us to acknowledge it. When we finally pulled apart, I opened my eyes, breathless, and found her staring at me with the same wonder that made my heart race. Her cheeks were flushed, and I was pretty sure mine were too, but I didn't care. All I could do was smile, feeling lighter than I had in years. I love you, Chloe, I said again, this time with even more certainty. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I do know that. She grinned, her face lighting up in a way that made my chest skip a beat. Then that's enough for me, Rimuru. That's all I've ever wanted. The wind picked up slightly, rustling the leaves of the oak tree above us, and as we stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, I knew we'd finally found something we had both been missing. Something I hadn't even realized I needed until now. Maybe tomorrow we'd figure out the rest. Maybe we'd face new challenges, new battles, and new uncertainties. But tonight, I just wanted to stay here with Chloe, under the moonlight, and savor the feeling of finally letting go. Finally letting myself love her. Chloe's paw. And standing there, with the moonlight shining down on us, everything finally made sense. For so long, I had held back, keeping my feelings locked away, afraid that if I confessed, it would change things between us. Rimuru had always been a constant in my life, my sensei, my protector, my everything. I had lost him too many times in different timelines to risk losing him again, not like this. But tonight, with his arms around me and his voice so soft, I could finally breathe. His words echoed in my mind. I love you, Chloe. He said it so easily, like it was the most natural thing in the world. My heart was pounding in my chest, loud enough that I wondered if he could hear it too. The warmth of his hand against my cheek grounded me, but my emotions were spiraling. Was this really happening? Was he finally seeing me, not just as his student, but as a woman? Rimuru, do you really mean it? My voice was barely a whisper, my throat tight. I needed to hear it again, to be sure I wasn't dreaming. His eyes softened, and the way he looked at me. I had never seen him look at anyone like that before. I wouldn't say it if I didn't. The sincerity in his voice made my heart ache in the most beautiful way. I clung to his jacket, afraid that if I let go, this moment would slip through my fingers. Tears filled my eyes, but for the first time, they weren't from sadness or fear. I was overwhelmed, relieved after so many loops. After all the waiting, I had finally heard the words I thought I would never hear. I didn't know how long we stood there, holding on to each other like we were afraid the world would break us apart. I didn't care. In this moment, nothing else mattered. I was with him, and he was with me. His forehead rested against mine, and I closed my eyes, savoring the feeling of his closeness. His presence was comforting, but also exhilarating. He wasn't pushing me away. He wasn't running. He was right here, and for the first time, I felt like I could let go of all the fear, all the doubts. "I'm sorry I made you wait so long," he muttered. I shook my head, feeling the familiar warmth spread through my chest. "You're such an idiot sometimes, Rimuru." My voice came out teasing, but I didn't mean it harshly. I wasn't angry, just relieved. "But I'm glad you finally understand." His laugh was soft, and it sent a ripple of joy through me. I had waited for this for him for so long, and now that it was happening, I didn't want it to end. But something inside me stirred something more. Maybe it was the intensity of the moment, maybe it was the years of pent-up emotions finally breaking free, but before I knew it, I leaned in and kissed him. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. My body moved on its own, driven by all the feelings I had held inside for so long. His lips were warm, soft, everything I imagined they would be. And for a brief, terrifying second, I worried that I had gone too far. But when I pulled back, I saw the shock in his eyes, his wide-eyed, almost frozen expression, and I couldn't help but smile a little. Rimuru, the most powerful being in the world, shocked because I kissed him. It was cute, almost funny, and for a moment, I thought I might laugh. Then, just as suddenly as the shock had come, it melted away, and his expression softened. He leaned into the kiss, gently, and I felt his lips move against mine. My heart soared, and the world around us seemed to disappear. It was just the two of us, lost in this quiet, perfect moment under the moonlight. When we finally pulled apart, I opened my eyes slowly, still feeling the warmth of his lips on mine. He was staring at me with the same wonder. I felt like he had just discovered something precious, something he hadn't realized was right in front of him all this time. "I love you, Chloe," he said again, and this time, there was no doubt, no hesitation. His voice was steady, sure, and the way he looked at me, it made my heart race all over again. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I do know that. Those words, the way he said them, made me want to cry all over again. I had waited so long to hear them, to feel them, and now they were finally mine. I grinned, feeling lighter than I had in years, my heart overflowing with joy. "Then that's enough for me, Rimuru. That's all I've ever wanted." And it was true. It was all I had ever wanted. The future didn't scare me anymore. As long as I had him by my side, nothing else mattered. The wind whispered around us, rustling the leaves of the oak tree, but I barely noticed. All I could feel was Rimuru's arms around me, holding me close, keeping me safe. I rested my head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt truly content. We didn't need to say anything more. The night, the moonlight, and the warmth between us said it all. To be continued.